All right, guys, got some really positive breaking news here for you. So the full show is about to drop shortly, but I wanted to record a quick segment on this because this is a big deal. So the Canadian elections were yesterday, and the Liberals ended up dominating. So this is a really crucial and important moment because if you rewind 3 months, the Conservatives were basically guaranteed a victory. Nothing's a guarantee in politics, but it was as close to a guarantee as you could possibly get. So Pierre Poilievre, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, the Conservative candidate, he was up 25 points on the Liberals. So what happened, of course, was Justin Trudeau stepped down, so there were going to be elections. Mark Carney is his successor. And as I said, everything was just a formality at the time that Canada was going to go Conservative. 25-point lead. If you look at it in chart form, it is absolutely mind-boggling. The Conservative line is up here. The Liberal line is like all the way down here, bro. So what happened was, of course, Donald Trump got to the White House, and he started talking endlessly about how Canada is going to become the 51st state. They're going to be the 51st state. That's what we need. Then he started applying political pressure to Canada to do exactly that. He said to them behind the scenes, if you don't become the 51st state, we are going to redraw our border with you and take more territory and take away your water rights and things of that nature. So it was on, bro. Like, it was on. And you know, Trump's been doing this not only with Canada, he's been threatening Panama, he's been threatening Greenland and Denmark, he's currently bombing Somalia and Venezuela, threatening Iran and Mexico. The guy is totally unhinged. So what happened was, Trump awakened Canadian national pride. And as soon as Trump started levying those threats relentlessly, I swear to God, you go look at the chart yourself, the lines go like this. So here's the Conservative, here's the Liberal, here's the Liberals, it goes, and the Liberals take a lead. So going into this, I believe the betting markets had it at like maybe a 20 or 22% chance that the Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre could pull it out. But no, it turns out Mark Carney and the Liberals pulled it out. They won it rather handily. To add insult to injury, this dude who's the Conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, also lost his seat in Parliament. Not only is he not becoming Prime Minister, he's not even going back to Parliament. He lost his seat in Parliament. So that really, really is an epic collapse. One of the biggest political fumbles in history. And yes, it is all directly because of Donald Trump injecting himself into Canadian politics, threatening Canada. And of course, what everybody in Canada thought was, why would we vote for the person who's the closer ideological ally to Trump? Why would we go with the Conservative here when it's the Conservative just south of us who's threatening us relentlessly? And so Mark Carney is going to be your next prime minister. Now, the numbers overall, remember, they have a parliamentary system. It's different from our system. But as I'm talking to you right now, Liberals have 168 seats. They need 172 for an outright majority, okay? So they have 168. The Conservatives are down at 144. Then you have another party that has 23. The NDP, which is the further left party of the Liberals, they have 7 seats. So what we're looking at right now, honestly, as David Dole said, and he's Canadian, this is a best-case scenario because you have the Liberals beating the Conservatives, but they have a minority government, so now they have to work with the NDP, the party to their left, in order to govern. And then on top of that, like I said, Pierre Poilievre lost his seat in Parliament. It was literally a best-case scenario. So this is great news. And guys, I think there's one really important reason why I think Mark Carney ended up winning. And I just watched this interview the other day, this clip from this interview. Mark Carney said about Trump, this is a guy who only respects strength, right? He was being interviewed and he told the reporter, this is a guy who only respects strength. Then the reporter goes, well, there's some speculation that perhaps when you talked to him, you threatened that Canada was going to dump U.S. debt. Or Canada was going to dump U.S. bonds. And his reaction to that was, I can't comment on that. Now understand, this guy was a central banker. If anybody is like in prime position to know how to like steer through this mess in a competent way, it would be somebody with experience in that field. This is a central banker. And so what it looks like happened is when Carney spoke to Trump, and Carney knows, hey, this guy only respects strength, he told him, if you don't back off with your threats, we will dump U.S. bonds, which of course will weaken the U.S. dollar further. And that's kind of like a checkmate move on Trump. Now, is that a guarantee? He's not going to keep threatening? No, it's very possible he does it. He's Trump. He's totally unhinged. He's totally impulsive. He's a complete dumbass. So maybe he keeps threatening it. But since that phone call with Mark Carney, Trump has said dick about Canada. He said nothing since Mark Carney allegedly threatened the U.S. dollar, threatened Canada pulling out of U.S. bonds and basically making the dollar plunge even further at a time when it's already very volatile because other countries have been, basically pulling out of the dollar. So that might be like the big reason why he ended up winning. And Canadians looked at that. They saw strength. They saw somebody who can get through the crisis. Now, Canadian national pride is like a liberal thing in Canada. And thank God our brothers and sisters to our north, our cousin country, I guess you could say. Thank God they're seemingly more intelligent than us and more empathetic than us and sympathetic than us, because they still have some sense of community. They still have some sense of logic and reason. And this was a massive win, not only for Canada, but also for humanity. And again, I really do think it's fair to say you can put this historic fumble from a 25-point lead to losing, you can put that squarely on Donald Trump. And that's a wild, wild thing.